Oh, let me tell you something. Busting makes me feel good.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Blockbusting, the podcast where we love to hate the movies. I'm your host, Jay Light. Joining me today, wonderful friend, wonderful performer with me on Nuisance at the Pack Theater, Lily Holleman.
Hello. Thank you. Welcome.
Happy to have you. This is great. This feels, we're getting, I think we're going to both adopt some like mid-Atlantic accents over the course of this episode.
Oh, yes.
Just the way they do in this movie.
Absolutely.
Let's just go talking about a film from a different time.
A different time.
A different era.
And you know, I never told you this, Jay, but I think that we would be well cast as siblings.
Oh, I believe that.
Yes, I think we should. We should pitch it for something.
I think we can make that happen.
Okay.
Let's see how this is going to be a good reel for us.
Yes,
to be used
our
with,
auditions.
Yes. We're gonna take this town by storm, I tell you.
By storm.
This is a movie called
Take Fountain.
This is a movie called The Philadelphia Story.
Yes.
I was only vaguely aware of this movie before you brought it up, because you initially were going to do you wanted to talk about a comic book movie, and then you changed gears.
Well, I didn't want to talk about a comic book movie. I just wanted to talk about comic book movies in general, but you like to go with the specific.
I like to do a specific, yeah.
And actually, in thinking about the word hate, I realized that I really can't hate a movie unless it's actually well made.
Okay.
Because if it's poorly done, then it's sort of, I don't like it, or it falls flat, or, you know, they have something to work on. I've produced a movie, so I know how hard it is to make a movie.
Right.
But in a situation in which somebody can actually do what they're coming to do, and it ignites such a deep hatred in me, that's what I think is worthy of the word hatred.
And Philadelphia Story came straight to mind.
Yes, because it actually was directed by one of my favorite directors.
Oh, yeah?
George Cukor, yes. He was known as a woman's director, which he came to resent, but I'd hazard a guess he resented it because he was gay, and people would say that as kind of a condescending thing, but he really did make a lot of movies with strong women. One of my top 10 movies of all time is The Women, which he directed.
Okay.
And he also was instrumental in making The Wizard of Oz what it is. He was the original director on Gone with the Wind.
Oh, wow.
Until he was fired because of his meticulous nature. And so, yes, The Philadelphia Story, which is billed as a classic love story.
Yep. It's got listed on Wikipedia as a 1940 romantic comedy film, and it seems like it's going to be just like this fun time.
Yeah, it is billed as light and bubbly.
You got Cary Grant, you got Katharine Hepburn, you got Jimmy Stewart. Everybody seems like they're going to be having a ball.
And I think they are having a ball for some inexplicable reason. But it's actually very dark, and it's very dark right out of the bat. Mm-hmm. They come out, the first scene, where Katharine Hepburn is... Are we going to watch that?
Yeah, let's throw it up.
Okay.
Because I would love to see this first scene in particular. Because this, for just a little bit of context for the listeners and for you as well, I had only seen, prior to you bringing up that you wanted to talk about it, I'd seen maybe the last 30, 45 minutes of it or so. Because one time I went to go hang out with my girlfriend before we had moved in together, and she was watching it. And so I had only seen the very end, which is basically Jimmy Stewart and Katharine Hepburn super drunk, flirting, and like going off to go bone in the pool house. And then this whole wedding like happens but doesn't happen, but then they get reunited and together, and it's this whole this like sort of farcical comedy of errors with Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn. And so I didn't really latch on to any of the dark elements because none of it really shows up in that.
Right. No.
But it's very from the jump. I watched this yesterday, and I was just floored by this is a very bold way to start the movie.
Yeah.
Let's just watch this opening scene. This is literally like the first 5 minutes of the movie. And it's very like, Looney Tunesy, classic sort of orchestral.
Cary Grant is leaving. He's being kicked out by Katharine Hepburn. She is throwing his golf clubs down, breaking one of them.
Right. Yep.
With
Over
a
her
smile
knee. There you
over
go.
her knee. And he is so furious. He runs back to the door.
Gets ready to hit her, fakes her out, then throws her down onto the.
He fakes out. He puts up his fist to hit her in the face. He thinks better of it, so he pushes her in the face down to the ground.
And then it cuts to her. Yeah.
Taps her on the shoulder, almost hits her. Pushes her in the face.
This is the romantic
she falls
lead
to the
of
ground.
the movie. This is the person we're supposed to feel sympathy for. And look at that expression. This is not the expression of a woman who's frightened or concerned.
No. She is. She just looks a little miffed. Mm-hmm. Maybe her neck hurts a little.
Maybe.
But ultimately, I don't even know where to start with this movie. So I will start with a little bit of history. Katharine Hepburn had gotten to the point where she was billed as box office poison.
Yes.
And the executives of RKO didn't really know what to do with her. I read something somewhere. It said they were at a loss as to how to use her based on her looks and personality. Because basically, at the time, she was a very confident, secure woman who valued herself.
Right, which is, men in Hollywood in the 30s and 40s especially hated that. They had no idea what to do with it.
They had no idea what to do with it, and the world didn't know what to do with it. They hated it. And so she was almost on her way out. And she got cast in the play version of the Philadelphia Story, and it was a huge hit on Broadway. And she started to realize the only way I'm going to make it as the confident, self-assured person that I am is if I cast myself in things where everybody's ragging on me the entire time and everybody hates me and belittles me.
Man. And she bought this. She bought the rights to the play.
Yes.
And made the choice to adapt it. And the executives were still really nervous because she was billed as box office poison, so they cast Cary Grant and Jimmy Stewart to support her, just in case. And all they do the entire movie is belittle her the whole time.
And so if you really break it down, this movie is about a marriage, an upper class marriage, in which the husband is a raging alcoholic who hates his wife, and she finally stands up to him, and you're supposed to feel sorry for him.
Right.
And then it cuts to her family, and nobody can believe that she would let this catch go.
Yeah, everybody's like, oh, well, he's rich.
He's rich.
Why don't you want to keep another rich guy around? Why do you want to marry a poor guy who doesn't know how to ride a horse?
I know. And everybody is so infatuated, and he's mean. He's mean the whole time. He's charming in his meanness, but everybody loves him, and the little girl loves him.
Oh, yeah.
And the mother loves him, and everybody is berating Katharine Hepburn's character, Tracy Lord, for standing up for herself and trying to make a better life.
Right.
And you would think, oh, okay, this is a good setup for a movie. Maybe it's a morality tale where, they learn along the way that she was right. But no.
No. This is the crazy thing to me is like, not only I didn't know about, of course, going up through film school, you learn about stuff like the production code and stuff, the way that people making movies changed because of government involvement and things that were happening. One of the things I didn't know is because of the production code, there were movies that got made in the vein of A Philadelphia Story.
Yes, remarriage stories.
Remarriage stories, yes.
Yes.
Because they weren't allowed to have extramarital affairs shown on screen.
Exactly.
So they started out with a divorce, and then everybody just kind of off flirting and trying to figure out how to come back to each other. And then at the very end of the movie, they do come back to each other.
Yes.
And that's how you can get this weird romantic comedy stuff.
Yeah, it was a reach around.
It's a real rusty trombone of a story we got going on here. So I've never seen the trailer for this movie, and I would imagine that they probably are billing it as super fun and lighthearted, and they might even be to the point of minimizing Katharine Hepburn in the trailer. Have you seen a trailer for it?
I have not.
Let's check out this trailer.
Okay.
The original trailer inaugurating a new show season. Star-packed, laugh-laden, romantic smash.
With a bear in a tuxedo, which has Blase Broadway roaring for a solid year at
$4.40 per seat.
Oh, $4.40 a seat. Wow.
The Philadelphia Story.
Hey.
So we're starring Cary Grant. We're like a minute into the trailer maybe, and they still haven't shown any actual scenes.
Nope.
It's just stars.
Stars you would love.
James Stewart. It's Ruth Hussey.
Ruth Hussey.
And then a bunch of other people.
A lot of people.
Look at all these names. Okay.
Oh my gosh. So
Are they going to show?
No.
It's in the trailer.
It's in the trailer.
Oh man.
No. Oh.
Wow.
Slipping red. I used to be afraid of that look. The withering glance of the goddess.
I didn't think that alcohol would do... Oh, shut up.
Dinah, stay here. Oh, please, Mother. Maybe he's going soccer again.
It's what everybody feels about you. It's what I first worshipped you for from afar.
George, listen.
First, now, and always. Only from a little nearer now. Hey, darling?
This is advertised as laugh
I
laden.
don't want to be worshipped. I want to be loved.
Someday over the rainbow.
Jimmy Stewart carrying her,
Yep.
passed out drunk.
Yep.
What is this, Connor? Oh, easy, old man. She's not hurt?
No.
Not wounded, Saul, but dead.
Seems the minute she hit the water, the wine hit her.
Now, look here, Connor. A likely story, Connor.
Hello,
Everybody drunk.
Dexter. Hello, George. Hello, Mike.
They've got her where they want her,
A
defenseless.
pretty face, a disciplined body that does what you tell it. You have everything that it takes to make a lovely woman except the one essential, an understanding heart.
This is
And without
Dad
that,
talking
this
down
world
to
is
her.
Bronze.
Classic.
The fact that you got drunk on champagne and climbed out on the roof and stood there naked with your arms out to the moon, wailing like a baby.
Yeah, they really are just like making Katharine Hepburn look terrible this whole trailer.
They're punishing her the whole trailer.
Yes, Mike.
Old Parson Parson, he's never seen Kittredge before, has he? Now look, I got you into this thing, and I'll get you out of it. Will you marry me, Tracy?
Uh-oh. Will she?
God, it could have been redeemed if she had married Jimmy
She
Stewart.
married Jimmy Stewart, but no,
The-
Jimmy
the
Stewart's
nice
just
one.
set dressing.
Yeah.
This is
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Can we talk about this? So
Yeah.
it starts out with the scene we were appalled by. Him throwing her to the ground. So it's establishing, you know, the box office poison, the woman that you hate, this self-assured, confident, beautiful woman.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to degrade her.
We're going to destroy her right from the very
We're
beginning.
gonna throw her down. This is gonna be revenge porn for you. This is gonna be really satisfying for you. And people ate it up. I think it's Metacritic's 97% positive.
Yeah, it made a lot of money back. It didn't even cost $1 million budget wise, and that's still even to get up into the 900,000. Still a lot for the time. It made $3.3 million back at the box office.
Wow.
And it's got, let's see, It has 100 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
It has something, an 8. No, that's an 8.78 is the average rating. Yeah, it's ranked as the best romantic comedy of all time on Rotten Tomatoes.
I am so floored by this. Why, Jay? Why?
I think here's the thing. This is the thing that struck me is that Katharine Hepburn, despite the fact that she has been labeled as box office poison in the lead up to this movie, she's doing the best acting work out of anybody in the whole thing, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, Jamie Stewart's the one who won the Oscar for it.
Right.
But him and Cary Grant are basically just like showing up.
Well, not insignificantly, she starred in the play.
Right.
Which will always give you a leg up on the acting. Because she did it for a year on Broadway. But can we talk about the fact that the little girl said maybe he'll sock her again?
Yeah.
She's gleefully hoping that this man will punch her sister.
And the mom is also like, well, don't say stock, say strike. Which is also just like, this is the level that they're at. They're like, listen, our daughter's going to get beaten by this man. It's part of family tradition.
And then this speech that the dad gives. We haven't even gotten into the dad scenario.
Yeah, let's talk about the dad.
So the setup of the movie is this very wealthy socialite Philadelphia family who's hiding this secret of the father who's run off with a dancer.
Right.
And a journalist couple comes to cover Katharine Hepburn's remarriage to this poor man.
And they're going in under the pretense of they have like befriended her brother who lives in South America. Yes. And their way in is Cary Grant's character, C.K. Dexter Haven.
Yes.
Is like, listen, it's going to be fine. They're friends of the brother. And then he drops the pretense very quickly. He folds because he's still trying to get the family to like him.
Right. And it's part of kind of his plan to make it all fall apart and get her back under his thumb. And so when the journalists show up, they say, oh, no, they can't know that the patriarch is off with a dancer, a teenage dancer.
Right.
We need to pretend like he's here. Because he wasn't even going to come back for the wedding.
No.
And so they pretend that their crazy drunk uncle is the dad.
Right.
Uncle Willie.
Uncle Willie, who's also like pinching Katharine Hepburn's butt the whole movie. And like every scene he's in with a woman, he pinches the woman's butt. He's real handsy. And then they just laugh it off.
Yes. Yes, it's very amusing.
Of course.
And then this speech that the dad gives to Katharine Hepburn about you're way off base to be angry with me about leaving your mom. Like he says it in the preview. You have a heart of bronze. You don't understand. You have to be more compassionate to men who do these bad things.
Right. Because that's the only way you're going to get somebody to love you. Yes. Is if you can just submit.
That is the real way women find value in themselves.
Oh man. They really are just trying to make Katharine Hepburn look as bad as possible.
Yeah,
whole movie.
They want to, and I guess that's the unconscious part of the movie that drives me crazy, is that the energy is light and witty and frothy. So you kind of think you're watching one thing. But if you really listen to what they're saying, it's horrifying. Yeah. And that is why I hate this movie, because it really epitomizes the root of kind of the patriarchal society that's been so toxic for so long, which is women are routinely told that they have no value whatsoever. And this movie is celebrated for that. And continues to be.
There's even... I remember this scene happening when when Jimmy Stewart and Katharine Hepburn's characters are flirting with each other, at the first time when they go to the pool after he runs into her at the library reading his book of short stories.
Yes.
And it seems like there's going to be this like, oh, this is a nice man entering her life.
Yeah.
And maybe this will work out for them.
Yes.
And then they go and they're like changing in the pool, changing area. And she's like, I have this house that you can like go and stay at if you want. If you want to like stay there and write your short stories, that'd be great. And then Jimmy Stewart is like, how dare you try and be a patron of my work? This is not proper. You shouldn't do anything like this. I can't be accepting help from a woman. This is not right. Yeah. Even the guy who's supposed to be like in love with her can't be like, listen, I'll take help from you.
Right.
He's like, no, you're a woman. What are you can't be telling me to do things. It's not how it works.
Yeah. It's insidious. It really represents the way of thinking that the men who founded Hollywood ran by, and also then disseminated and supported in our culture.
Yeah. And there's a lot of you can tell that the movie is once you're actually like in the movie, that trailer still, I can't believe that they showed all of that in the trailer for the movie. Is like, this is how we're going to get people in. This
is why people love this movie.
The parts, there's a lot of like fun dialogue and like good quippy, scenes and interplay that are happening. Like a lot of this movie I found myself enjoying, but the real undercurrent here is very, very insidious.
Yeah, it really is.
And it was critically acclaimed even at the time, and it got nominated for something like, I think, 8 Oscars maybe? Let's see. Yeah, it was nominated for 6 Academy Awards. It won 2 for Best Actor and Best Adapted Screenplay. There's all sorts of oh my God. It's so I want to read some of the reviews of the time of the movie.
Oh, yes, please do.
It has just about this is from Bosley Crowther for the New York Times, the film critic for the Times. What a 1940s name. Bosley Crowther.
Bosley Crowther.
This film has just about everything a blue chip comedy should have. A witty romantic script, the flavor of high society elegance in which the patrons invariably luxuriate, and a splendid cast of performers. If it doesn't play out this year and well into next, they should turn the music hall into a shooting gallery. Metro and director George Cukor have graciously made it apparent in the words of a character that one of the prettiest sights in the pretty world is the privileged classes enjoying their privileges.
Yes. Okay. So 1940, coming out of the Depression, right?
Right.
And so, the privileged class has kind of, the people's enjoyment of watching that has shifted over the years. But people really loved seeing the privileged class, rich people.
Oh, yeah. Everybody loves a good wealth porn scenario.
Yes. Yes. And that plays so much into the misogyny. It's kind of inextricable in the way that they lord money over Tracy Lord.
Right.
They lord it over Lord.
They lord it over her, and she has money.
She has money.
They don't even need to lord status over her.
No.
She already has status.
Yes. But, yeah, and then so the insidious message, too, about this stupid man that wasn't even cast as a name significantly.
Right.
That she's engaged to.
Old Mr. What's his name?
George.
Old George.
George, the lower class man.
He can't even. Can we? I wonder if there's that scene. If we can find the scene of them horseback riding, where you meet George for the first time on screen.
Oh, yes.
If we could find that, I think that's the most like obvious bumbling thing. But there's a lot of, so they cast him and they don't even make him a name. He shows up in the movie essentially also like Katharine Hepburn just to be shit on constantly.
Yes, absolutely. And he's not even necessarily nice to her either.
No, not really.
Yeah. So you don't really understand why she's marrying him.
He's also doing the thing the whole time that Katharine Hepburn's character is explicitly, over the course of her arc, before she winds up back with Cary Grant again, she comes to this conclusion of like, oh, maybe I don't need to like act like a goddess or like be treat myself like that and just allow myself to be human instead.
Yes.
And she gets into a fight with him about like, you're putting me on this pedestal.
Yeah.
Just treat me like a human being.
Right.
Which I don't think is a bad like way for your character to grow.
Sure.
But the way that it comes about is all kinds of like deep, fucked up, misogynistic.
Yeah, and then what does it mean to actually treat her like a human being? To degrade her?
Right.
Every other sentence?
I know. It's to the like when they have the wedding go down at the very end of the movie, she's not even allowed to like say what she wants to say. She's basically like, "Oh, we just have to I guess we have to get married right now again. This is all it's going to be."
Yeah, she can't even come up with a speech for herself. She turns to Cary Grant to tell her what to say.
Yeah.
To
He's
the crowd.
dictating it to her, to the crowd.
Yes. And so really, and just to circle back, this is a classic abusive relationship.
Mm-hmm. You see it stitched in throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, and everybody is celebrating it.
Anytime she's standing up for herself, everybody takes Cary Grant's side.
Yes.
Anytime that she winds up potentially being with somebody who treats her well, everybody is like, well, why would you want to go with that person?
Yeah.
They're poor.
Yeah, they're poor.
How dare you?
Exactly.
How dare you date a nice poor person?
Exactly. And the fact that he's an alcoholic and he's so angry at her for taking objection to that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't understand people's foibles. You need to just have compassion.
What happened the one time you got drunk? You got a little weird. You got naked and got on a roof.
No.
It's just it affects us all a little differently.
Yeah.
I think I did the episode a little while ago about Marriage Story with our friend Tiffany
Yes,
Holleman.
fantastic episode.
And one of the people, so I was responded to by somebody about why they liked Marriage Story. Because, and they said that they thought it was a story that was, even though the characters might be in different, like a social class or different social situation or financial situation or whatever, the story of like people who are going through divorce trying to figure their shit out, they relate to that, and that's why they like the movie. I think what happened at the time for Philadelphia Story is probably like, oh, the rich people they got problems too. They're also beating their wives, and they're also alcoholics. Let's maybe, you know what? We're okay. This is all going to be a fun time.
Yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that.
But it's still so weird for them to be like, let's make this the fun, lighthearted comedy of the season.
Yeah.
While all of that is running underneath.
It's it's scary because it is so unconscious and unconsciously accepted. And in the era of Me Too and Time's Up, where people are so angry and blaming people, what are they ultimately angry about is this exact idea that women are told by everyone, by society, that they have no value.
Mm-hmm.
And it's unconscious. And even men who are feminists don't realize the advantage that they have had because innately men are told that they have value and that their opinion matters and that they should not shy away from voicing how they feel.
Right.
I mean, not everybody, obviously, but
that's like the standard messaging.
Standard messaging to men is that you have value, you have something to say. If you mess up, so what? We'll forgive you. And the standards for women are so different and so rigid, and this movie epitomizes that. It just encapsulates that. one little mistake that a woman makes, she'll be written off not only by men, but other women.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll pit women against each other. And people don't even understand unconsciously what's going on. And so in the day and age when we're trying to change this, we all need to understand that women have been told for a century and beyond that they don't have value. And so we just have to work on that messaging.
Right. And I think that as romantic comedies as a genre have aged and developed over time, that message has become more ingrained in modern romantic comedies.
Absolutely. And yes, and it's actually in the 1940s, women had really depthful, interesting roles. If you look at the movies, there was a wide variety of roles for women and a lot of interesting, nuanced choices.
Mm-hmm.
And as movies progressed, the choices diminished.
Yeah.
And women became more and more and more objectified. And got to this point, especially in the 80s, where women were just cardboard cutouts with boobs.
Right. It's all just window dressing.
Yeah. And so now, I mean, people became more and more and more asleep in a way. And so now we're finally waking up and trying to figure out why we're so angry and what these messages have been all this time.
Mm-hmm. Which leads me, and this is a question that is occurring to me as I read more about Katharine Hepburn's involvement in the making of the movie.
Yes.
So from your perspective,
yes,
what's the best way to ask this question? So Katharine Hepburn made this movie and had a lot of creative control over the movie.
yes.
Do you feel like this movie would have found the success it did and become sort of this like touchstone of the era and of the genre if Katharine Hepburn had not the creative control. I think it seems almost calculated on her end to make a movie that is going to become a success by making her look bad. So if she had made a movie with, let's say, like same cast, where she was not put down constantly and she had some agency and some strength and a character that was that did have depth.
Yeah.
Do you think that it would have been as successful and lauded as Philadelphia Story?
No, because all the movies she was in before that made her box office poison, she was not put down. And she figured out that it was this very confidence that she held that made people hate her and not want to watch her. And so it is a strange psychological mind bend because it makes her even more brilliant and even more aware of society and how people felt at the time and how she could pull herself out and make herself successful. And all of the movies after that, if you watch them, everybody is ragging on her in all of her movies. And so, yeah, it's a strange,
It's so
complicated situation. But yeah, it's the only way she could be a feminist.
She found, yeah.
She found a way.
It's a weird way of making it work.
Like a sadomasochistic
Yeah.
way. Although she was so confident she could take it. I mean, that's the amazing thing. She was so self-assured. Betty Davis was the same way. And throughout time, studio executives pretty well made sure that women like that did not continue to succeed.
Is there a movie from this time period maybe of this genre, maybe not necessarily, maybe involving Katharine Hepburn, not necessarily, but that's something that you think better stands the test of time and holds up today in the way that Philadelphia Story doesn't, that you think people should watch and would put on like this is the one that people should be paying attention to.
The Women that I mentioned earlier by George Cukor, the same exact director, and that's why it would be fascinating because he really was a feminist. I don't fault him. As I say, this movie was made very well, and he was a great ally to Katharine Hepburn, and he wanted her to succeed. He had directed her in several movies before, so he followed what she wanted to do. He wanted to cast her as Scarlett O'Hara, and she was too confident, according to RKO, or whoever produced it. Selznick,
yeah.
Yes, Selznick. But The Women is such an honest depiction of the patriarchy, and there's actually not a single man in the movie. There was a remake which was absolutely horrifying in the early 2000s with Meg Ryan.
It sounds familiar.
But the one that Cukor directed it's equally mind-bending in its brilliance, depicting how women interact with each other and how men pit women against each other. And it's kind of a dark comedy depicting this very thing.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
This is a really. I'm glad you didn't do comic book movies.
Yeah,
This
me
is
too.
There's something to it. There's something deeper here that we had not. I think this one might be one of the oldest movies I've ever talked about on the show.
Yeah, but so many people still say if you ask them about a classic movie, they'll say, "Oh, that's my favorite, The Philadelphia Story," and it boggles my mind.
Some things just can't. I mean, some stuff just can't hold up.
But to people it does. That's
I know.
what's crazy because we're still living in this culture.
I wonder if there's going to be like another movie like this where it's like a woman is behind so much of the creative decision making and is a large and inextricable part of the film's success, but is nothing but just gets shit on the whole time in the movie.
Wow, maybe we should do like a dark comedy.
We could. I mean,
version
that's
of
not a
this.
bad idea.
Yeah.
There's, you know what? There's probably the story of the Philadelphia Story hasn't been told. This is fascinating.
Yeah.
This is very. I feel like a lot of people look at this movie and don't go deep into like knowing like the way that movies were made at the time and specifically the way Katharine Hepburn was perceived at the time.
Right.
It's fascinating.
But how could you still watch it and see this little girl jumping up and down about her sister getting punched?
Well, because it's so wacky.
I don't know.
I mean, they only slam her down into the ground at the very beginning. And Cary Grant decides to drink orange juice instead. Katharine Hepburn gets drunk.
Oh, it's also very charming.
It's so charming. Everybody's so charming in this movie.
So lovely and rich. It's okay because they're rich.
Yes. The rich people have problems too. It's fine.
Yeah, and they can do whatever they want because they have things.
They're rich.
They're rich.
They can write off their problems. They can run away with dancers. You can pinch your niece's ass.
Yes.
Yes, of course. It's totally cool.
Whatever you want. Just give me that silver.
Well, now this is our wonderful pitch for our storytelling of the 40s.
Yes.
And we make this happen.
We're going to make it happen.
Lily, thanks for coming in and talking about this.
Thanks for having me.
Lily is a very accomplished actress, and you can check out a lot of her work. IMDb's got your full listing of things.
Full list.
Do you have anything coming up that you want to promote or people should go see besides obviously us playing on Tuesdays as Nuisance?
Oh, please watch the movie I produced. It's called The Lady Killers. It's actually deals with a lot of these themes. It's a dark comedy about the exploitation of women. And it's really dark. I find it to be very funny. And please, it's on Amazon.
Okay.
And please rate it well. And if you don't like it, don't rate it at all.
Don't.
Or lie and say you liked it.
Don't even bother.
So we can help independent film.
Yes. And social media, people can follow you on that.
Yeah, if you want to. I drop in every once in a while.
What's your handle?
Lily Holleman, LILYHOLLEMAN.
Wonderful. You can find me at Diet J on Twitter and Instagram. JLikeComedy.com for show dates. There's stuff going on. By the time this comes out, I imagine my album will probably be out soon, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And come see me and Lily. I'm going to say it again. I've said it so many times this episode because you should. Come see us do Nuisance on Tuesday nights at the Pack Theater, 8 o'clock.
Improv comedy team.
Improv comedy about getting in trouble as a kid.
Yes.
It's very fun. It's a good time. If you're in LA, and it's pay what you want. It could be free. It could be more if you like it, and you're probably going to like it.
Please, place value on artists.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I got a Patreon, so subscribe to that too if you want.
Yay.
But tell a friend and go watch The Lady Killers. Go watch The Women. Don't even bother with the Philadelphia story. You don't need it.
You don't need it.
Get it out of here.
It's not the old Lady Killers. It's the most recent Lady Killers from 20, I don't know, a recent
It's
year.
recent.
A recent year.
Yes.
Yes.
Check your years.
You'll see my name in it.
Thanks, Lily.
Thank you.
This has been Blockbusting. Go see something good for a change.
Yay.